Hello there, welcome to my new video. In this video I'm going to talk about JavaScript testing, and this is like a little advanced testing, and I'm going to cover a lot of topics in this. Let's see how to set up a runner. First I'm going to create a React app and it's going to install. There you go, it installed, and I'm going to go to client, and here in the package.json you can see the libraries, testing libraries that are used in the React project, and test is the script that we are going to run. And this for this app.js there is a test written inside app.test.js, and I'm gonna make a few changes to the app.js, and I'm writing a welcome to testing header. Inside the test, I'm going to show you how to write a basic test. So we are going to test for the word testing. So let's see how to write the test. First we take test, and I think there we go. And we write the text that the test is doing, so it should display testing. And how we start testing is like, if we I'm also importing the app.js, and now we have to render it. I'm going to show you in the React testing library. Here we already have React testing library installed, so that came with React. So let's see what to use. Here is the render function. First, how do we use this render? I think we need to import it, so I'm gonna import render from testing library. And I'm going to render the app.js just like so. So in our test it renders app.js. After app.js is rendered, we are using screen here. If you can go to testinglibrary.com, you can have a clear understanding what are all these render screen things do. So on the screen we are going to get by text, so that means we are making sure if the word testing is present on the screen. So if it is present, the test runs successfully. If there is no word testing, it should give an error. So I'm gonna run npm test and see, and it passed. So the testing passed successfully. This is how we do testing, basic testing in React. And also there is a debug function where it console logs the output on the screen. Whatever is on the screen, it outputs. So for a basic test we need to arrange, act and assert the things. There we go. You can see the result is stored in, that's the act, and we are assertion is nothing but the expect statement, the testing we are doing. That's how we write a basic test. And now here I'm gonna show one more example for arrange, act and assert. Here I'm taking an add function, and I'm gonna display the result using this add function in a p tag, and I'm gonna test for that in the app.test.js. Okay, now I started the server. So it should show value 7 here. Let's go back to our test. So 2 and 6 should add and display 8. So that's the test. So we are going to arrange, add and assert. Let's see how we can do that. I'm going to import the add function into the test. Now I'm going to arrange the values. I'm going to take 2 values and then I'm going to store the result. We are acting, so we are performing the action, and now we are asserting. The assertion is expect result to be 8. And now let's run the test and see what happens. There we go, the test is passed successfully. I'm going to make a few changes. Instead of 2 and 6, I'm gonna give value 1 and value 2. There we go. Okay, now let's see why do we need to mock. Mocking is necessary, like it allows you to test the link between the code by erasing the actual implementation. For example, if you can take a database, we can mock the database by actually not testing the database and writing the code for database testing. That's one of the example that I can think of. And now let's see how to mock an internal and external modules. For that, I'm gonna take away the add function from app.js and I'm gonna create add.js file and I'm going to import it. So this is like a module, like an external module. So I'm going to use that external module in my function, and now I'm going to mock that add.js inside my test. So for mocking, I'm going to jest, and here let me look for something called jest.function. So what jest.function creates is it creates a mock. So it says that add mock is a function which is a mock function. When I use just.function, it is undefined. So I have to give an implementation for that. For that, I'm going to use just.function.mock implementation, which for this we can specify what parameters it takes and what it returns. So here a and b are the parameters I'm passing and a plus b is the result. So the result should be 8 and the test passed. This is how we mock some functions, modules, just like that. And also we can use mock return value without telling what the function does. We can just tell what it returns directly. So it has to return 8 for whatever value I am passing. Okay, now let's see internal and external modules. These are some of the functions that we can use to mock: just.function, just.spyon, and just.mock. Let's see how to use all this. We already saw just.function. And for modules, I'm gonna create operations.js file. Inside this, I'm gonna place all the operations. So I'm gonna copy paste the add function there and make a subtract function and a multiply function. These are some of the modules, example modules. So now what we'll do is we'll go back to the app.js and we're gonna import operations and add, multiply, subtract, all the operations from operations.js. I'm gonna call those functions too inside my app.js. Now let's use Pion and see how we should write it. First, in the test, I'm gonna import all the operations as operations from the operations.js, and now I'm going to say just.spyon and use that operations and call and use that add function which I'm going to spy on. This spyon will use the add function that we wrote in the operations.js, but for now I'm going to use add mock implementation. If I use mock implementation, now it doesn't use the add function from operations, it just returns 4. As you can see in the assertion here, if I say add 2, 5 to be 7, the test fails because I am mock implementing. I'm not using the spyon. Look at the result. The test failed because I mock implemented. I used mock implementation. Now I can reset this too. Let me show you how to do that. I'm gonna comment that, and if I say add mock reset, I think it should not be reset. Let me try this and see. There you go, it failed because it's not reset. I think it should be restore. Let me change that to restore. There we go, it worked like a charm. Next, I wrote a test using just.mock. For some reason I forgot to record the video, but you should see the steps here, and if you can pause the video and write the test as it is, you can get the test done. Sorry about that. Next, let's see how to use a third-party API, how to mock a third-party API. For this I'm going to use an endpoint called request_response.in. I'm going to use axios. Here I'm installing axios, and also I created a users.js file, and I'm importing axios here. And to get the data from the API or the endpoint I'm going to use is request_response.in. I'm going to show you that, but here I'm just writing the get users function. Okay, this is the endpoint. Here I'm going to get the data, so I'm going to copy the endpoint and I'm going to use axios.get to get data from that endpoint. And just follow the video and see how I'm going to get data and how I retrieve this data into React application, into app.js. And it goes like this. There we go, the data is retrieved into our web page. I'm gonna show you again. That's the data we got. Now let's see the next steps, how to write the test. Here I'm going to create a user's object, array of objects, and I'm going to give pre-written values because we are going to mock this value, like the API returns this value in the test. We are not actually getting the data inside our test, right? So that's the reason we are writing the values manually and mock it. Now let's write the test to mock this axios API, the API that we are calling using axios. So we are going to mock axios, and in axios we are going to mock the get function. So it is a just function. Inside our test we are going to say axios.get.mock resolved value should be users, that what we have written manually, the array of objects that we have written. So we are going to store get users functions value in result, and let's write the assertion. So axios.get to be called with, to have been called with the endpoint that we are using. So it tests that if it is the endpoint that it is calling. And I'm also console logging the result here so that you can see the actual value that is displayed. I think something is wrong. Oh, it's a typo. So it's returning promise and we have to await for it, and the test passed. And if you can see the return value, it is the console log, it is the users that we have manually written. And if I write the assertion as result to be users, and it is also correct because we mock the result value. That's how we mock an API. Okay, now let's discuss about test coverage. Test coverage is like a metric which measures the amount of testing performed by a set of tests. Let's see how we can use test coverage with an example. Okay, now here I'm going to use npm test -- and also one more set of -- coverage. Then it's going to show which parts of our files got tested and which are not tested. All the red things are not tested. It's the line number, it shows the line numbers and also the percentage of testing done in that file or in that module. That's what test coverage does. And by looking at this, we can find out which needs to be tested and which got tested 100%, all that information. Next, let's see how to test asynchronous functions. In just website, we can see the testing for asynchronous function right there. We can do with callbacks and promises and async await, 3 types. And here I'll show how to test with each one of the methods with callbacks and promises and async await. that's about testing asynchronous functions. Now let's get into the next topic, that is writing an end-to-end test. For this I'm going to use Puppeteer, and I'm gonna create a new folder called E2E and create a React app in there, and I'm going to use Puppeteer for this, and let's see how it's done. That's the end of this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye bye.